From undefeated champs in the making to their entire careers being at stake because of one mistake, these are the UFC fighters that were never the same after suffering an injury. Kicking things off with Cain Velasquez. The man was virtually unbeatable at the height of his career. The heavyweight champion had formidable skills and no one dared question his game. But with great skills came great injuries, and he had a history of pretty nasty ones. Cardio Cain too suffered the same fate, as many others from the American Kickboxing Academy at the time. In other words, the superstar suffered meniscus and MCL injuries, and that too right after a dominant title defense against Junior Dos Santos. The injuries were so bad that the champ had to take 2 years off from fighting because of them. However, Cardio Cain did not stay down. The stage was set for the champ to return. His target? Fabricio Werdum, the interim heavyweight champion. The real champ was ready to collect what was his, and as Cardio Cain went for a takedown, he was caught in a guillotine choke and lost the fight.
Vamos ver aí o jab do Velasquez e ele botou pra baixo, deixou o pescoço, vai bater, bateu, Fabrício! The
fans were shocked. To be honest, anyone who saw the match was shocked, even the promoters, as they hoped to rematch the two fighters. But for Velasquez, it was history, as his injuries prevented the rematch, and the former heavyweight champ decided to take another rest. Cain came back after a year, this time winning his return fight against Travis Brown. But his dreams for a title shot were short-lived, as NSAC declared him unfit to compete due to the impact of his injuries. It was a complete shock to see Cardio Cain suffer this fate, but he isn't the only one who fell to injuries. A similar fate ended the career of Shane Carwin. The former heavyweight champion's career in MMA was short-lived. The power puncher only fought in 14 bouts. All of those wins ended in first-round knockouts with the exception of 2. Even to this day, only a handful of fighters come close to matching the raw power this beast was capable of producing. Let me paint you a picture. You're a former heavyweight champion in the world's biggest MMA promotion, and someone who was formerly in NCAA Division II walks in the octagon and knocks you out in under 3 minutes. That's exactly what Carwin did at the UFC 96 to Frank Mir.
It's over. I think he's out, Mike. He's out. Jesus, stop. He's unconscious.
Shane Carwin has defeated Frank Mir!
To say that fans were impressed would be an understatement. As a result of his win, Carwin became the interim champion, earning himself a match with Brock Lesnar, the reigning champion. Carwin almost won the first round, but ran out of steam and lost to an arm triangle choke from Lesnar in the second, marking his first loss. However, it was Junior Dos Santos who ended up being his undoing. After that, Carwin decided to get back surgery to help with his injuries, but as things would have it, his recovery took longer than he could afford. To make things worse, just as Carwin was ready to return, he went and injured his knee. This series of injuries caused the heavyweight to finally call it quits. But it's interesting to imagine what his career would have been if he hadn't succumbed to these injuries. But the fall from grace of the next fighter will definitely leave you in shock. I'm talking about none other than UFC middleweight Darren Till. The Gorilla's fall from grace was nothing to joke about. Darren remained undefeated with a strong aura of charisma as he rushed up the welterweight rankings in search of a world title. All of England was behind him, cheering him on. His walkout at UFC 228 was the kind of thing that only aspiring stars do. The crowd cheered and cheered for him, which seemed to mark the birth of a new UFC superstar. But fate had other plans for Darren Till, namely Tyron Woodley, as Woodley was able to beat the Gorilla via submission, and unfortunately more losses were waiting for him. In his very next fight, the Gorilla lost to Jorge Masvidal via TKO.
He silences the crowd!
Wow! Unbelievable! Unusual entries. He was being chaotic in his entries. He dipped his head to the side. He came over the top. Unbelievable!
Things were not looking good for Darren. In his last 5 bouts, he was knocked out 4 times. And to make matters worse, injuries have plagued him in the time between his bouts. In 2021, the Gorilla faced Derek Brunson, who dragged Darren into the world of grappling. After that, Till was supposed to fight Jack Hermanson, but he had to pull out of the fight with an undisclosed injury. Darren had to withdraw from another fight before the Brunson fight due to an injured collarbone, and I can bet my money that Brunson worsened the injury. Thanks which, once considered a future champion, is now looking for his first victory in nearly 3 years, this just breaks my heart. Speaking of an undefeated fighter on their way to becoming the champion, this next fighter was really in a league of her own. She's none other than the strawweight Tatiana Suarez. Fans always pay extra attention to fighters who go undefeated, at least I do, and Tatiana Suarez was enjoying her time in the same boat. Or maybe she still is. Suarez is still on the promotion's roster, but she hasn't fought since 2019. With 2023 just started, it's been 4 years since the undefeated fighter stepped into the octagon, and at this point in the video, I assume you already know why. Career-altering injuries. In the past, many people looked to the TUF 23 winner as a potential future champion. This was very clear after her 8th mixed martial arts match, when she beat Carla Esparza at wrestling and knocked her out with a TKO.
Recuperando la media guardia, pero imbatible, incansable. Sigue Tatiana Suárez. Y no más, dice el referee. Consideró innecesaria.
To say that Tatiana Suarez has a bright career ahead would be an understatement. The fighter was practically untouchable, and opponents had no answers for her attacks. Unless her opponents were injuries, Suarez was plagued by knees and neck injuries, which eventually derailed her career. Since then, her comeback is among the most anticipated returns in the octagon, but unfortunately, she had to sit down on her scheduled return in 2021 due to an injury. Suarez is now 32 years old and has been out of the cage for 4 years, and at this point, she risks being forgotten as little more than a what if in MMA. But the same might not be the case for this next fighter, especially after going from extreme to retired within days. Let's talk about TJ Dillashaw. After UFC 280, he made headlines when the former bantamweight confessed he accepted the title fight, and that too whilst suffering from a serious shoulder injury. Even though it sounds super cool, I don't think it was a smart move. Yes, I know he's one of the greatest fighters of all time, but the former 2-division bantamweight champion has only competed in 4 bouts in the past 4 years, and in 2021, when Dillashaw faced Corey Sandhagen, he sustained a serious knee injury in the opening round, which hampered his performance in the remaining rounds. Even though Dillashaw came out on top in that match, the fans believe that Corey deserved the win more than him, and after the match was done and dusted, the next destination for Dillashaw was the title match at UFC 280 in 2022, and he took a full year to recover from his knee injury. However, the former champion wasn't being lazy. He went through intense training and dislocated his shoulder about 20 times during the training fights. Let me repeat that again, 20 times. But the guy still decided to go through with the matchup. I'll give you a second to guess what happened in the fight. Did you guess he got wrecked by his opponent and aggravated his shoulder injury? Well, you guessed right. Dillashaw was dominated by Sterling and lost via a TKO.
TJ fought with all heart, clearly being hurt, and Aljo secured another takedown and took his back, and Aljo starts to punish him with nasty strikes until the ref stops it. Aljamain Sterling defeats TJ Dillashaw by TKO.
After the match, he finally decided to have shoulder surgery. However, when he was told how long it would take for him to recover, Dillashaw decided it was best for him to retire. That's all the fighters we have for today. We'll see you in the next video.
Garbrandt in a world of trouble.